When it comes to apps that ship with your Mac, I'm sure you've heard of the big ones. Safari, FaceTime, reminders. But what about the ones that aren't so obvious? They're literally on your Mac right now, but you probably just haven't seen them yet. Let's get into it. First is Freeform. It's a whiteboard app that Apple released fairly recently. It gives you an infinite canvas to map out and brainstorm your ideas. You can add sticky notes, shapes, text boxes, and images. It also lets you import PDFs, sounds, and videos. You can then connect different objects and move things around very intuitively. Before this, I was using free online tools like Excalibur and Figma, and those are great as well, particularly for collaborating with other people in real time. But having a built-in app that doesn't need an internet connection and has a classic Apple polish is just really hard to match. Moving on, we have Stickies. This one's really simple. It just gives you post-it notes that appear on top of your windows. You can click Command-N to create a new sticky note, and you can change the color with Command 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If you want to see what's beneath it, you can click Window, then click Translucent. Personally, I use Stickies to quickly capture information, like reminders or notes throughout the day. I then sort the notes properly into my task management system at the end of the day. That way, these Stickies don't clog up my screen too much. Also, if you notice that your font size is really small, you can click Command-T to open the fonts. Then select the font and the size that you want. Mine is Avenir, size 23. If you want to make this a default setting when you create a new note, you can go to Window, then click Set as Default. Next up is DVD player. Yes, this is still a thing, even though Macs haven't had built-in DVD drives for over 10 years. But of course, if you have an external DVD drive and a bunch of old DVDs lying around, then I guess this could be useful. Moving on to something a bit more valuable, we have shortcuts. So I feel like this is something that most people have heard of, but they don't really touch because it's really open-ended. Basically, it lets you automate tasks on your Mac. So I'm going to give you a simple example of how I use it. And that is starting a focus or study session, whatever you want to call it. When I start working, I want to have some ambient noise going, and I don't want to be interrupted by notifications. So let's create a shortcut for this. The first thing is to open the app that I use to play the soundtrack. And for me, that's an app called Dark Noise. Then I want to play the rain sound. You'll find that a lot of apps like this have built-in actions that you can just plug and play. And I want to set the volume to be quite low. 5% sounds about right for me. Then I'm going to set a timer for 30 minutes of work. And finally, I'll hide the apps that I don't really need. Usually right before a session, my desktop is really cluttered with all these different apps that I've been using, like a web browser and Finder windows. So having that all just disappear is like my computer telling me, hey, it's time to focus. Now to run all of this, you can set a keyboard shortcut, but I usually just have it pinned to my menu bar. Then I click on that when I want to get started. So that's just one example of a shortcut. If you want some more ideas, you can go to the Gallery tab, and there are all these pre-built shortcuts that you can use straight away, or change to suit your needs. Next up is Fontbook. This will show you all the fonts that you have installed on your computer. So that includes the default ones, but also the ones that you may have downloaded from the internet. I particularly like the list view here because it shows a nice preview of a sentence in every font. So if you're looking for the right font in a situation, this is a great tool. If you're used to something like the Pages app, you'll know that it's a chore to kind of go through each font and click on each one to see it manually. Now, if you need a basic notepad to write something down without all the distractions of a full-blown word processor, then TextEdit is a great tool for that. By default, it does come with some extra settings like a font and ruler, but I personally use the plain text mode and turn off the ruler to give it that clean, minimal look. A lot of times you just don't need all those bells and whistles to start writing. Moving on, we have the basic clock app. These days, you probably use your phone for things like an alarm or a timer, but sometimes it's great to have that larger display on your computer. Also, the world clock is actually quite useful if you have friends or family overseas, or you want a nice view of what parts of the world are awake and asleep. Alright, so the Books app is great if you like reading and you want a nice visual collection of all the books you've read. This should be synced up with your iPad and iPhone. The store is built in, so you can buy books straight away, and also offer some suggestions based on what's trending and what might be interesting for you. You can also set a daily reading goal if this is a habit that you want to develop. You can probably tell here that I don't really use this app very often. Personally, I use an e-reader for this kind of thing. Okay, so that's basically it. There are some other small ones like chess and grapher if you want to do some math, but I don't think those are for everyone. Hopefully you found an app that you might start using now. Also, if you want some recommendations for some free third-party apps that are also not that well known, well, you can check out this video right here. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you want to see some more content like this. I'll see you next time.